It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Folks, recently we saw some of the worst devastation we've ever seen in northeastern and central Pennsylvania with the floods. And many of you, as you know, have friends or know of people who lost everything. Lost their homes, lost their personal belongings, left with absolutely nothing. At the time of the devastation and after the floods, we started seeing the political people coming in, taking a look at the devastation. Those people, Congressman Barletta, Congressman Reno, Vice President Joe Biden, Senators Casey and Toomey, all came up to take a look at the devastation. The question is this: what is being done about it? My guest today, Congressman Barletta, who is here to talk about not only what he has observed, but also what's happening in Congress today. And I guess we're all frustrated as to what's happening. Congressman, thanks for coming on this show.
Sam, good to be here again.
I know when the flood happened, you were in Congress in Washington, but you came back immediately. What did you see?
Well, Sam, it's something that I'll never forget. Honestly, I never expected to see the amount of destruction and devastation that has occurred in northeastern Pennsylvania, all the way from Benton up in Columbia, over in Columbia County, down the Susquehanna up into the Wilkes-Barre, Duryea, Chickasha area. It is just incredible. And I went back to Washington, and it was so unbelievable of how much loss of property and destruction that I told those in Washington that if we could take all of the homes that were damaged and put them into one city, I am sure that it would be on the nightly news every day. The magnitude of the loss and destruction, I'm not certain that the country realizes how serious and how bad it was.
Well, when you saw that, okay, and even though we showed a lot of video of the destruction, all the stations did, you can't even come close to when you're there and seeing it for yourself, okay? All right, you saw that. Some of the stories you've heard, okay, from these people.
Well, it didn't matter what community that I went in, and I literally would just walk the streets, and it's very, very moving as people would invite me into their home to see what's happened, to watch their life's memories being taken out to the curb and dumped. I've watched elderly men literally break down and cry in front of me. I've sat while young men broke down and cry, mothers and grandmothers not wanting to go back into the home anymore. I've watched this little girl tell her mother, "Mommy, please stop crying. Don't cry anymore." And it's just heart-wrenching, Sam, to see what's happened here. And it's not just one little community. It's not one block, one street. This is neighborhood after neighborhood, community after community. Businesses have been totally wiped out. And again, so many people who have lost everything, basically everything they had, not knowing what they're going to do. Most people, just standing on the sidewalk, staring at their property, not knowing, what should they do? Is there going to be help? How do they get their life back in order again? And it was very moving for me, and I don't know if I'll ever totally be the same after this experience, sharing the worst thing that's happened in their life, but also realizing that I'm in a position to either accept that this was a disaster or try to go to Washington and change what I see that is wrong. And what I found, Sam, there is a lot that's wrong.
Okay, so I mentioned in the beginning of the show, it's good to have people firsthand come in here. Bishop Bambera immediately sent out a message to all the churches in the Catholic Diocese of Scranton, and he had an appeal immediately. Boom, they raised over $250,000 and raising more, took the money, bing, right to the people. Okay, now, here we have you, okay, a congressman, we have Congressman Reno, we have the Vice President of the United States, we have Congressman Casey, we have Congressman Toomey. And believe me, I'm sure they came up here and they felt the same emotions and they saw the same thing firsthand. The question is this. Here are people, our own people here in the United States, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just a person who listens to a lot of people saying, what are they doing to help us, okay? Some told me that you can't believe all the paperwork that they have to do with FEMA. You can't believe the interest. You can't believe what is going on, you know, and some of the people at FEMA that you're dealing with are not really, now this is what I'm hearing. I'm hoping this is not true. They're not responding the way they should respond. Here are people who lost everything, okay? Now, a comment, you know, you made a comment. You said, well, if this happened in a foreign country, what would we have done?
Well, you know, the first thing I had to do was to see what the response from the federal government would be to help these folks. You know, naturally, you know, the very first thing you want to do, being, you know, a member of Congress from this district that was affected, is, you know, what does the federal government do and how do we help? And the first thing is, Sam, anyone who had flood insurance, you know, they need to contact their insurance agency, and then the government will come in and help after the flood insurance information is provided. But you know what I found, there's a number of problems that I see here that need to be corrected. Number one, many of the people that have lost everything did not have flood insurance. And you would say, why not? Why wouldn't you have flood insurance? Well, the answer to that is most people were told that they're not in a floodplain. Therefore, they would not need flood insurance because their home is not in a floodplain. But yet they were totally devastated by this flood. How could it be so bad? Well, I believe that they were in a floodplain, but they just didn't know that they were, and they didn't go and get insurance because what the federal government did, I believe, when we built the levee in Wilkes-Barre, it worked, and it saved Wilkes-Barre much damage and devastation and destruction, as it should have, and that's what it was built and designed to do. However, what happened before the levee and after the levee? Where does that water go? And therefore, I believe the floodplain has changed, and people who never believed they were in a floodplain really were, and didn't have flood insurance. So now they're left to the government as to what will the government do to help. Well, this is what the government will do to help. If you were a business, for example, and there were many businesses that lost $7, $8, $9 million worth of inventory, flood insurance will not cover all of it. If you can get credit elsewhere, the federal government will come in and give you a 6% loan. If you can't get credit elsewhere, you'll get a 4% loan. If you are a homeowner, the government will come in and give you a 2.6% loan through the Small Business Administration. FEMA could come in and give you a grant up to $30,200. That's the maximum that they could provide to you. And when I heard this, Sam, I was almost embarrassed to go and say that this is what the government's response would be. A 6% loan? You know, when we in Washington are, you know, the main focus is jobs and keeping businesses here, and you know, businesses could get better than that on their own. And my question immediately when I went back is, what is the interest rate that we charge other countries when disaster strikes them? When we rebuild their schools and their hospitals and their roads and their bridges? What's that interest rate? America is always the first to respond when disaster strikes somewhere because we are the most generous country in the world. But what happens when disaster strikes at home? The answer to what interest rate we charge is zero. It's nothing. But yet when it hits right here at home to American people, we're going to offer them a 6% loan. I think that's wrong. You know, I don't think that's what the United States government should be doing. I think we should be taking care of Americans first and American companies first. Before we're willing to go in and rebuild the world, let's pick these people up here in America who have just lost everything they own.
You know, to me, I have to, I shake my head because I don't know why Congressman Marino, probably he has, Senator Casey, Senator Toomey, the Vice President of the United States, feel the same way you feel and go back to Congress and say, this is what we're going to do. I mean, we're talking about the United States of America Congress. So why penalize our own people, and correct me if I'm wrong, where we go over there and God bless them, that's where we are a generous nation, but now we have our own people that are devastated. And we put them through leaps and bounds and do everything to make their life more miserable than what it is. You know, this is like, it's insane to me.
Well, it is, Sam, and it goes back to the fact where I just one that believes that we need to take care of America and Americans first. And after we do that, then we can help the rest of the world. We can't be a nation that could go around the world and help, you know, all of those that are misfortunate without helping America first. We have unemployment over 9%. Many of these businesses will not open up again. They're just going to take their insurance check and say, that's it. I'm not going to borrow 6% interest at a time like this. No. What's going to happen to the people that work there? Unemployment in northeastern Pennsylvania is the highest in the state. We're going to have more people unemployed. Less taxes going into these communities. Many of these communities are totally wiped out. Chick-Shinny and West Nanticoke, Bloomsburg. It's just unbelievable the amount of damage. So with that being said, you know, immediately I thought this was wrong, and it bothered me so much that when I went back, if you remember, when we voted in the House, I voted no on the first for the disaster relief because I didn't feel it was enough money to come back and help the people here in our district, and I voted no, and I was put under great pressure to change that vote, and I wouldn't do it because I was really serious about, you know, we need to do the right thing for the people here, and it was only until I got a guarantee and an assurance in writing, which I did through talking with Speaker Boehner, that FEMA would have the money it needs to take care of the people here, and that was good. That takes care of this right now. And the people back home could know that FEMA is going to come and help. And we still have a lot of problems to work out there. But that wasn't enough. I think as a country and a nation, we need to change the way we help when disaster strikes at home. If we're willing to do it for other countries and some countries that don't even like us, then why wouldn't we do it for America and Americans? So I introduced a bill last week that would again change the way America deals with disaster. It would provide a 1% loan for 30 years for not only businesses but for homeowners too, who have lost what they have, their personal belongings, to a natural disaster, a declared disaster by the President of the United States. It would totally change the way America deals with disasters here at home, and I'm feel very confident that we're going to be able to get this bill passed, and we're going to push it through as soon as we can, and hopefully it can be retroactive to the first of the year, so that we can not only help the people here today in our district, but we could help other Americans around the country. And Sam, you know, when we look at foreign aid, let's not put foreign aid before we put American aid, and really that's what this bill will be.
Folks, I'm talking to Congressman Barletta. We come back after this break. I have more to ask him about. Here's an interesting thing. We all have budgets at home, right? So, okay, folks, we in our homes, we maybe have $1,000 budgeted, and so much money is going to go for here and go for here and go for there. Now, something happens, a tragedy or something happens in your household. Well, now, the $300 that you were going to put over here, you can't put over here now. You have to go and put it in where the emergency is. Hence, the billions of dollars that we're spending overseas, maybe it's a time to say, well, maybe we should take X amount of dollars now to help us out. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. You know, we saw the devastation in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Congressman Barletta is here. Congressman, Standard Speaker, Sunday's paper headline says, Congress dysfunction longer than making, okay? And everybody is like totally frustrated, okay? Here you have a situation with, you said you're introducing a bill which is give a 1% loan for 30 years, all right? Better than, than 6%, 4%, and 2.6%. So now what happens is, everyone's saying, what the hell are they doing?
Well, you're right. I mean, the headline is certainly not wrong. That's why 86 new members were sent to Washington, because the American people have said they've had enough. They've had enough with the fact that their voices are not being heard in Washington, that Congress has lost touch with the people back home. Sam, it will be 880 some days that this country has gone without a budget. They cannot even agree on a budget. And this was even during a time when one party controlled the entire Congress and the White House. They could not pass a budget. That is dysfunctional. And the fact that so many new members have been sent there, it's a historical class that's there, is an indication that the American people do want, they want something changed. They didn't send me there to just go along to get along. They sent me there to change the way Washington does business. That will take some time, and it will take another election and maybe 2 more elections until
they change it.
They change Congress.
But here's the question, okay? It's like yesterday, a person says, "What is he doing? I mean, what is Barletta doing? What are they doing down there?" Okay, so I mentioned before the break, everybody, if we have budgets at home, and we have, let's say, a person has $1,000 they get, and they have to pay their light bill, they pay this, and a discretionary income, maybe a dinner or a movie, etc. Something happens in their home that's a disaster. All of a sudden, they say, "Look, we can't have that discretionary income. We're not going for dinner. We're not buying this. We have to put the money here." Well, and maybe I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, but if there's billions of dollars we're sending over to all these people, which is fine, now let's take $1 billion and redirect it to our own country and say, look, they need it here, okay? Is that stupid?
Well, it's not rocket science, what we need to do in Washington, really. Anyone with common sense could go to Washington and realize that, this is not the way the American people live at home. This is not the way you do business at home. So why then does it have to be different in Washington? For example, you take so much, folks take so much money home from their pay. If their washing machine breaks down, obviously they need to get a new washing machine. It wasn't something they planned, but they need to get a new washing machine. Well, that might mean that the high definition big screen TV that you were going to get, you can't get right now.
Yeah.
That's the way people live at home. They do with what they can and what they have to do, and with what they might want but can't have, they wait till later. Washington needs to act the same way, Sam. Something we're going to do, and we're really pushing this very, very hard. And the American people and the listeners should really pay attention to this. We are pushing for what is called a balanced budget amendment. It will be a game changer for Washington and how we do business in the future. Balanced budget amendment will be exactly what you and I and everyone else does. You spend what you budget, and you live within those means, and you make it a constitutional law that Washington can't just continue to spend money it doesn't have. And it will force politicians to go to Washington and be responsible and say, okay, these are our priorities. This is what we need to do. That means we need the programs that don't work, programs that are simply inefficient, waste, fraud, abuse. We have to cut it out. We have no choice now. We have to cut it out and get Washington. And when that happens, when the world sees that America is serious about getting its fiscal house in order, the economy will begin to turn around. It will remove some of the uncertainty. Businesses will start to invest again. Unemployment will come down. Our pensions won't all go down the tubes, and that's where they're heading. If we continue acting as if we were the Congresses of the past, where it didn't matter, we're just going to spend money until nobody wants to lend us money anymore, and that's where we were going.
Okay, so when Vice President Biden came in town, okay, you made a statement saying this was great that he came in. He was able to see this firsthand, and coming from this area, hopefully he would be able to go back and do something. What did he do anything?
Well, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what they're doing. Obviously, they're not telling me everything that they're doing, as they won't know everything that I'm doing. But what is important, and I'll tell you why it is important, even if he just came here and saw what, a small part of what's happened here. I'll tell you why that's important, Sam. It's why it was important that Senator Casey was there, and Senator Toomey, and Representative Marino, and whoever else that will come and see. It will make it much easier for us to change the way Washington deals with this after you witness this with your own eyes, after you see the emotion of the people who have been affected. You cannot go back to Washington and feel the same way. So, I look at it that even if they didn't do anything other than go there, when this bill comes up, I'm hoping that Vice President Biden will say, listen, this is something we should support. I'm hoping that Senators Toomey and Senator Casey will get behind it when it goes to the Senate. So I'm going to drag as many people there as I can. Speaker Boehner has agreed to come, and I want them to see it as well, because I don't think the country realizes how serious it is and how bad these people are hurting. And we have an obligation to take care of our own.
So the question would be is that, 86 new people, the biggest we've had in Congress, freshmen go in there. And are they banging their heads against the wall? I mean, because what's happening is, if you go there and you're told to do a job, 86 of you, then come back and say, look, this is what I'm doing. Like you're doing today on the Sam Lesante Show. You're telling the viewers what you're doing, okay? Now, you need support to have it go, to be passed. The same token with these 86 freshmen, are they going back and saying, look, you voted for me to go there. I am doing this, but this is what's happening. I'm not getting it through.
They are. I'm sure my freshman colleagues feel the same frustration that I do. 86 doesn't make a complete majority of Congress, and 86 can't pass laws through the House, through the Senate, and get the president to sign it. And that's what it takes to make those changes that the American people told us they want. But that being said, Sam, we are making a difference. And, we're not able to throw the 100-yard touchdown pass and get it all back for the American people that we want. But what we are doing, by being persistent, by holding our ground, by not backing down, by coming back home and telling the American people what's really happening in Washington, we're moving the football 10, 20 yards at a time. They're all talking about getting our house in order again, including the President of the United States. We are changing the culture in Washington. We can't do it as quickly as we all want it to happen, but that's because we don't control everything, and we can't get all of these laws passed. But we are changing the culture and the focus of Washington. And American people, I have such tremendous confidence, will take care of the rest. They will look at Congress as a whole, and those who want to go along, to get along, and want to continue business as usual, I believe the American people aren't going to send them back.
Talking about getting people jobs. Now, this FEMA loan that you're talking about, so I'm correct, anybody who needs money or for their homes or their business, this 1% will be available. It's a flat 1% across.
30-year loan.
30-year loan, 1% across the board, okay? So if they didn't have insurance, this is an opportunity for them. Now, what about the red tape that they're going to have to go through to get this?
Well, there's a lot, and we've been working with FEMA again to try to make this process easy. I've heard a lot of stories as well where FEMA's not covering different items that people have lost. But we're going to work through FEMA. I'm trying to see that they get into the communities and explain to the people what FEMA covers, what it doesn't, and we're going to continue to try to fight for the people to get them as much help as we can for those that are affected. I think we need to. There's a lot we need to do, and I told anyone that I've met is if you're having a problem with FEMA, you call us. We're going to try to see what we can do to help. But in the meantime, Sam, I think the right thing to do is as I said, if we're willing to help, when a disaster came in Japan and everywhere else in the world, the United States was the first there with help. Well, disaster struck northeastern Pennsylvania, and I expect our government to be here to help as well.
Well, I hope it's done. It breaks my heart to see that these poor people have to beg. They have enough sorrow. They're getting hit the way it is. Then you have to worry about paying this, and you hear the stories about, especially the senior citizens who got hit. They build their home life all up, down the tubes, and now they get, the government has to come in and say, look, here, we're going to help you, not make your life more difficult. Congressman, as usual, thanks for coming on the show.
Sam. Okay. Thank you.
Folks, there you have it. If you have any questions about what's going on, if you're affected by it, please call this office. And they have a great staff to be able to give you information, as well as Senator Casey, Senator Toomey, and of course, if you're in Representative Marino's district, give them a call. They're there to help. Periodically, Congressman Barletta does come on the Sam Lesante Show to fill us in what's going on. If you have any questions or comments you'd like to make, and this is not a political thing, folks. This is bipartisan. We're talking about helping people. So let's put the nonsense of whether he's a Republican or Democrat. I don't want to hear that. We're here to help people, period. Would you agree, Congressman?
I would agree. And I just want to say, Sam, that our local representatives and Senator Casey, Senator Toomey, and Representative Marino are very, very concerned, and I'm sure are doing all they can to make sure we get the help for the people here in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Congressman. We'll see you next time on the Sam Lesante Show.